Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way, episode 483. Stevesmi, the Rickster, Ricky V. Rock. We're bringing you another rehash episode. These are episodes that we wanted to bring back to life. Maybe you didn't hear about them. Maybe you just started listening to the show, or maybe you haven't listened to it in a while. And these are really, really important ones. So the one I'm going to bring this back is one that you did, Rick, on the Elite Fitness episode 27, and that one was about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Very important one. A lot of guys are doing TRT now. A lot of you guys aren't doing it the right way. A lot of you guys are going to the wrong places. So Rick, really, you did this one. So tell the listeners preview a little bit before we started on what you talked about.
Oh, I went all out. I told you guys exactly what you need to be aware of before going into a T clinic. Tell you guys how TRT clinics are structured today, how the services are rendered. It's a nice long podcast all about TRT clinics. And on that same kind of vein of thought, I'm saying we should look at episode 343 Q&A. So it'll be episode 27 of the elitefitness.com podcast. That one's just me. And then you and me, Steve, the one we did together, 343, which is all about soreness. It's Q&A, soreness in the muscles, doctors in TRT clinics, bloating, and we talk a little bit about alcohol and so some lifestyle stuff that some of you guys need to hear. So those are the two podcasts for today: Elite Fitness, episode 27, episode 343 of the Evolutionary podcast. And today, the episode is sponsored by N2Slim.com, or you can go to N2SlimX.com. I will have the links at the bottom of the description, except on YouTube. And definitely, we discussed it a couple of podcasts ago. It is the product you need to help your muscles make more progress, more growth, more muscle mass from insulin, from the calories you eat. And also, it makes your fat cells resistant to the insulin, so those fat cells are taking in less nutrients. It takes 7 ingredients in this formula to achieve making your muscle cells more sensitive and making your fat cells resistant. And just taking it consistently before every meal, 30 to 45 minutes before every single meal. N2Slim is just going to shift everything, the way your body works, especially if you're on steroids. Man, it makes the steroids work even better. Your muscle cells are going to be way more sensitive to those androgens. So N2Slim is the way to go, guys. Don't make any mistakes about it. N2Slim.com, that is the sponsor of the show today. If you have any questions about how to incorporate N2Slim into your training program, make sure you contact me, RickyVRock.com. And there you'll find a way to hit me up, or go to RickyVRock@gmail.com. Hit me there, RickyVRock@gmail. How easy is that? So without further ado, guys, here is the Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ricky V. And today you're listening to episode number 27 of the Elite Fitness podcast. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the rise of new TRT clinics. TRT stands for testosterone replacement therapy. And these are clinics with doctors, legit doctors, that specialize in testosterone replacement, hormone replacement therapy, and basically getting you a prescription for a lot of those real nice drugs that bodybuilders want to take. So now, you've heard me on the previous podcast where I interviewed Eric Marr, and also where I interviewed Rick Collins. And on both podcasts, we touched on TRT clinics and how it all works today. So in this podcast, I'm kind of going to expose the industry just a little bit. And the reason why you see so many TRT clinics nowadays is because the majority of them are franchised. Yeah, that's right, guys. Franchised TRT clinics. Now, how does that work? It works in the following way. Someone very entrepreneurial, I will not talk about their name here, but this group, they basically gathered a whole group of doctors from around the country. Each of these doctors have the proper licensing to do telemed in their home state and sometimes in states nearby. this network of doctors that they've put together covers the majority of the United States. In order to franchise and plug into that network of doctors, you just need to go to these guys, pay the franchise fee, make sure to get proper training for yourself and your staff, and you get it rolling. And this is the reason why there's so many of them out there now. It's because to start a TRT clinic right now, you no longer need to go and find your own doctors. You don't even need to go find your own pharmacies. All you need to do is plug into their network, pay your franchise fees, set up your website, set up your team to take in the patients, to do everything that you need to do to bring in the customers, the patients, I should say, right? And you plug into the network. And it'll be the same network of doctors all working for hundreds of TRT clinics. So now when you go on social, when you go everywhere, you see all of these different clinics all popped up. You can sign an intake form with them. You can schedule your appointment. In the process of you contacting the TRT clinic, you automatically sign paperwork to agree to let your doctor that you have your appointment with share information about you and in your consultation with the TRT clinic that you are working with. Now, what's important is to start one of these TRT clinics, you don't need to be a doctor yourself or have any real licensing. The doctors are already in the network. You just need to plug into them, basically franchise your clinic. And I call it a franchise because it's a network of doctors established by one entity, and all these clinics are plugging in. Even though you have hundreds of different names of clinics. So what is the process with one of these clinics? How are they different one from the other? I'll go into that right now. Basically, each clinic is ran by a different group of people, and you're going to get different customer support, different support from all these different places. Their pricing will be somewhat different. What you do is you contact the clinic. You say you'd like to see them about your hormone levels. They will send you you will fill out all the proper paperwork to give them access to your medical history, medical things to do with between you and your doctor. The TRT clinic will be able to have access to all that information as well. When you go ahead and contact and plug in with them, they'll give you a lab around your location where you can go and get blood work. And then that blood work gets forwarded to the clinic and to the doctor that's going to be handling your appointment. Once you get your appointment, you go see the doctor via Zoom. You know, I said you go see the doctor. You actually go to a Zoom meeting or Skype or whatever, and you have a screen-to-screen, face-on-face meeting with your doctor. You go over your medical history. You go over some of your symptoms, and they'll get around to prescribing you some testosterone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy, depending on what you need. So, what if you are already on steroids, you're taking underground stuff, and you'd like to switch over to taking just legitimate steroids? Well, you can set up an appointment with one of these clinics and just let them know offhand that you're taking illegal, underground, black market steroids, testosterone, or whatever it is, and that you'd like to stop doing that. And you'd like the doctor to give you a prescription for legitimate testosterone you could grab from a compounding pharmacy and basically go right ahead and switch over to human grade. Most times than not, the doctor will prescribe you even without a low testosterone test. Like, you can take your blood at the lab, local lab, and when it comes back, your testosterone levels could be sky high, could be through the roof. That's just proof to the doctor that you're taking synthetic steroids. The doctor will put you on a lower dose. They're usually around 100 milligrams a week to 200 milligrams every 10 days. that around there. That's what most guys are getting for testosterone replacement. I've heard guys getting as much as 200 milligrams a week of testosterone replacement therapy, but that's not very common. Most guys are going to get 100 milligrams a week to 200 milligrams every 10 days. And if you have the right insurance, these steroids could actually be much, much cheaper to buy than getting stuff on the underground. I've talked to a couple guys that are paying, $20 co-payment for some of their big jugs of bottles of testosterone cypionate because it came with a doctor's prescription. Now, testosterone is not the only steroid that can be prescribed to you if you need hormone replacement therapy. Anavar is also being prescribed now, and any of these TRT clinics can prescribe you Anavar. Why would someone get Anavar? Let's say you have normal testosterone levels and you provide a test that shows normal testosterone levels, but you have other symptoms. You have muscle weakness, bone pains. Maybe you have something in your skin like a burn. Well, Anavar could be a legitimate prescription for someone experiencing muscle weakness and bone pain during their training. So if you're working out and your muscles are just weaker than they were before, if you have bone pain that's affecting you with your workouts, you can actually get a prescription for Anavar. And it'll be legitimate Anavar made in a compounding pharmacy in the U.S. Depending on your insurance, it might or might not be covered. And then you might actually be paying not a lot for that Anavar, or maybe paying quite a bit more than the black market if it's not covered. Nandrolone is an acceptable treatment for joint pain. So if you are experiencing problems with your joint pains, your doctor might be able to prescribe you some Nandrolone, even if your testosterone levels are fine, are normal, or even if you are already on testosterone replacement therapy and experiencing some joint pains, stacking Nandrolone on top of your testosterone replacement therapy might be an acceptable treatment. And your doctor could prescribe you that through a Zoom meeting. So these TRT clinics have the whole network. They're arranged. Even though there are many different names and flavors out there, the majority of them all kind of plug into the same network. That's why you see the new surge on these testosterone replacement clinics, that they are everywhere. It used to be that you had to fly all the way to Florida to see a good rejuvenation clinic that would help you get the stuff you want to get legally, legitimate stuff from the pharmacy. But now you can be in any state in the U.S. and have a doctor that's licensed in your state consult you via Zoom meeting and maybe determine that you're a good candidate for some kind of hormone replacement therapy. Human growth hormone, IGF-1, some peptides like TB500, you can get via these testosterone hormone replacement clinics. Depending on the symptoms that you're experiencing, say maybe you've had an injury, or if you have medical history of being involved in a car crash or being involved in a serious surgery, that past medical history, along with your lingering symptoms and pains, together, it's the perfect package for a doctor to look at and determine that you are an individual in need of hormone replacement. If you had a shoulder that popped out of its socket years ago, you had an operation, you got some medical records of being in the emergency room, broken ankle, any of those things, you might be a good candidate to get some peptides, maybe TB500, some growth hormone, IGF-1, some nandrolone, all based on that broken ankle that may be still giving you some pain and some trouble when you're on the treadmill and you try to run more than a mile or two. Your ankle might just start acting up. Your ankle might just give you some back pains and who knows, maybe some nandrolone or some IGL or some human growth hormone. Maybe what your doctor determines you should be getting for the symptom you're experiencing. That's the way that it goes down now, guys. TRT Clinics, you don't have to fly out of state anymore. You don't have to go and try to convince your doctor to please give me a prescription. You just go direct to a TRT clinic that's plugged into a network of doctors nationwide that are all specialists in hormone replacement therapy. That are all specialists in giving you relief from your symptoms using hormones. So if your ankle bothers you, instead of getting a painkiller, instead of getting shots into the ankle, corticosteroids and things like that, you might be able to get some Anavar or some nandrolone for that ankle pain, depending on what your doctor determines may be the best course of action. And obviously, if you're seeing a doctor that specializes in hormone replacement therapy, then he's most likely than not going to prescribe some hormones to help you with your symptoms. So that's the way it is now, guys. Now, as far as expenses and how much you're going to spend, if you have good insurance that covers the hormone replacement, you might be getting away with paying very, very little. You'll be getting human grade USA compounded testosterone replacement therapy. This network also has their own clinic, their own pharmacy, compounding pharmacy, to actually make the products for you. So once you Zoom with your doctor and you get your prescription, the clinic that you're dealing with will take your prescription and have it fulfilled by their compounding pharmacy that's in the network. You can take that script and go elsewhere, go to a local compounding pharmacy or go somewhere else. You could, but you'll probably be steered towards shopping with their compounding pharmacy that'll mail you your stuff. So very, very good information for all you guys out there considering it. Now, if you don't have good insurance, if your insurance doesn't cover this kind of medications, this kind of treatment, then you're going to be paying out of pocket quite a lot, quite a bit. You're going to be paying way more for that testosterone, that Anavar, that nandrolone than you would buying underground. Now, we know that getting testosterone from a U.S. compounding pharmacy is always going to be a much cleaner product than if you get testosterone from an underground lab. I mean, it's just compounding pharmacies, they're regulated. Trained pharmacists are making this stuff. The raw materials to make your testosterone from a compounding pharmacy, they enter the country legally. They're shipped from good top-tier manufacturers overseas. They're shipped in. When it comes into customs, the customs official sees the big box, and it'll say there's testosterone, oxandrolone, nandrolone in this package, and it's going to a clinic in Florida somewhere, let's say. And it comes right through. Gets right through because it has the proper licensing. Unlike the guy making and baking steroids in his basement, he's having to hide those raw materials in all kinds of different ways. Mislabeling them, sticking them in other items that are not what they're supposed to be. There's definitely a lot that goes into having good, legitimate product from a good source. And so you're going to pay way more out of pocket buying from a compounding pharmacy than you would overseas. is the peace of mind that your products are not contaminated with heavy metals, bacteria, other contaminants. Is the price difference worth it? You making sure it's paying 3-4 times maybe this for the same bottle of testosterone cypionate, buying it from the compounding pharmacy, than getting it from an underground lab? Is it worth knowing that the milligrams that it says are in the bottle, that there are no heavy metals that you're injecting into yourself, that there aren't other contaminants that got into the raw materials during processing? I mean, these are all big questions for everyone out there. A lot of guys will just opt to shop from a well-known, well-established underground lab and not worry so much about the quality, the purity of their product. Some guys will go the extra mile and spend the money, even out of insurance. Even if the insurance won't cover it, they'll spend the extra money to make sure that they're getting legitimate, clean product that's up to spec, made in the USA. It all depends on you, man. Maybe picking up the phone and giving your insurance company to find out, giving them a call to find out if your insurance covers testosterone, oxandrolone, nandrolone, TB500, IGF-1, human growth hormone, if it covers those prescriptions. Then if it does, then the script from one doctor should be just as good as the script from any other doctor. So it's a good piece of information for you guys, all you guys out there. We are in the age right now of TRT clinics. There's hundreds of them out there, all franchised, all plugged in. There are few that are still independent, but the majority, at least the ones you see on social, the ones that you see marketed everywhere, the majority of them, they're plugged in. Especially if they say that they can see patients, that they can take patients in from any of the 50 states in the U.S., then chances are that they're plugged into this doctor's network, this hormone replacement therapy specialist doctors. They're plugged in. Because most independent compounding pharmacies you'll find are only in that state, the state that they're located in. Or maybe they can see patients from 1 or 2 states around the area, not that many. So that's it. I mean, I just wanted to put this little bit of information out there, something I gathered. I found it really interesting, guys. Maybe if you don't care so much about this, about the industry and about the flow of these compounds, you just want to get your steroids and don't care, well, maybe this wasn't such a fun episode for you. But all you guys out there that are maybe wondering, like, holy fuck, what happened? Why are we full of testosterone replacement clinics now? Well, this is why. For all you guys out there, this is Ricky V. I'm signing out. And remember, guys, I'm not a doctor, so do not take anything I said as doctor's advice. You need to check with your own doctor before taking any steroids or any drugs. Have a good day, guys.
Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. This is another Q&A episode, guys. Number 343. Stevesmi here, and Rick straight from the Bronx. What's up, man?
What's up, Steve? What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there?
Good, good. So, guys, we have 5 great questions ahead, guys and gals. Let's get the first one. This is a really good one that we haven't talked about before. Being sore on cycle after workout. This is a guy, he said he nailed 475 on the deadlifts. The next day, he was sore. His back was bent backwards. He could barely walk. He's on a cycle, and he's like, why am I so fucked up? Even on a cycle. He's thinking, wow, I'm on a cycle. I shouldn't be sore. I shouldn't be in pain. I thought steroids helped me recover. So, Rick, what do you think about this one? Has your experience been on steroids? You can kind of like go balls to the wall in your workout and not be sore the next day. What do you think is happening with this guy?
You need more stretching on steroids. So you get faster recovery on steroids as far as your soreness, but but your muscles to me seem to become more spasmic, more spasm prone. And you also, the way my massage therapist describes it to me, he just says you got salt in your muscles. You need to get in there and massage them. You need to stretch them out. There's more stuff going into them, definitely more blood volume going into them when you're on steroids than when you're not. And although they'll recover, they'll repair, the tissue itself will repair itself quicker after having a workout. You get more deposits. There's just more lactic acid. You get pumps in some muscles from some steroids. You just need to massage them and stretch them out more. It's been my experience on steroids. When I'm not on, I'm pretty good. No knots, and my body feels free to lose. Once I'm on steroids, and I've been on steroids for a couple of weeks, everything's just a little bit tighter, a little bit more spasm prone. Everything just seems like it needs a little bit more massaging, a little bit more stretching, more help to feel the same.
It's almost like it's a give and take situation. As much as steroids, yes, they do help you recover. You can make the wild estimate. This is what I've seen from studies and stuff, 50% faster. And all that means is, let's say it's the same weight though. You got to do apples to apples. You can't do apples to oranges. So if this guy, he's hitting PRs on a deadlift, 475 pounds, a lot of weight. All right. And he's overly pushing himself on the steroid stack, then whatever benefits the steroids would have given him, all things being equal, are now negated. So a lot of times guys run steroids and they make themselves more prone to injuries. Now, what Rick was saying, that's, that type of situation, I've seen this. Like, I've seen this in yoga. I've seen big bodybuilders, and I've been myself, where you can't even wrap your arms around their back because you're so inflexible because of steroids and because of weight training.
Just to throw something in, I think what my massage therapist describes as salt on the muscles, it's uric acid. It can crystallize and actually deposit itself into tissues. And something for you guys if you want to Google a little bit. And I think it just, when you're on steroids, you have more of a chance of these uric acid deposits happening than not. It's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and that can all work against you. Basically, weight training decreases mobility. It decreases your flexibility. And as you grow muscles, those muscles start pinching against nerves. So over time, if you're not stretching, if you're not increasing your mobility, if you're not lifting efficiently and lifting smart, you will create more injuries and you will create more problems for yourself that you wouldn't have before because you're kind of overdoing it. So in this guy's situation, I think it's a simple answer to his question. He simply just overdid it, and the next day he's paying the price. So now if he keeps doing the same thing and he keeps overdoing it every workout he does on his cycle, he's going to end up dealing with nagging chronic injuries, and he's going to end up doing things like herniating discs and all kinds of these long-term injuries that you definitely don't want. So my advice to him is don't go balls to the wall when you work out. Rather, work out hard, but work out efficiently and work out smart, because you want to basically take care of your body. You have to be doing maintenance on your body. You have to be doing stretching. If you're not disciplined enough to do stretching on your own, go to a yoga class or go do hot yoga. Hot yoga, you'll be able to stretch more because you're in a hot room and there's peer pressure and there's other people around you that have been stretching. There's chicks in the room with you who've been cheerleaders since they were 4 years old who can do all kinds of stretches, and you're going to be pushing yourself to stretch, and you're going to increase your mobility that way. So that's an option for you. You need to also be doing, some daily maintenance. After your workout, do some stretching. Make sure you're warming up before your workout. So just because you run steroids doesn't mean you just get to bash your body into the ground and magically recover from it. On the contrary, a lot of people who use steroids actually increase their chances of injuries and get more injuries on steroids. So you have to be really, really smart. I'm a victim of it myself because I go balls to the wall with everything I do. And I'm a victim of it because I hurt myself really, really bad. In my mid-30s, I hurt myself. And I haven't been able to lift as strong as I did back then. And I may never be able to lift that strong. But that's okay because I learned my lesson. You know, so I've learned to lift smart and lift efficiently.
Yeah, coffee helps. Taurine obviously helps. Vitamin C helps. Eating cherries, funny enough, I found really, really helps. So all decent things to kind of get some of that spasmic muscle kind of tightness the steroids tend to give you. It's a good way to help you get rid of it.
So next one's another topic we haven't kind of got into. This guy is on TRT. He's on a doctor-scripted TRT. And the way that works is you go to a doctor, he runs your blood work, he writes you a script, you get testosterone from the pharmacy, completely legal, completely legit. But in his situation, the doctor put him on 100 milligrams a week, which is a TRT dose. Now he's running steroids. He's running 500 milligrams of testosterone a week because he's running more than what the doctor is prescribing him. The problem with that, when he goes back to the doctor for his checkup, the doctor is going to have him run blood work again. And guess what? His levels are going to be way out of range. And his other things on his blood work are going to be out of range too. There's going to be other things. So the doctor is going to know, something is going on here. And the doctor is going to be like, well, you know, we got to lower your dosage, you know, because the doctor is going to get confused. So he wants to know, how can he still cycle steroids and keep his doctor prescribed TRT and not get kicked off and not have his insurance company kick him off of getting that? So if you're running a steroid cycle and you're coming up to where you got to go to your doctor and get blood work done, it depends on what you're running. It depends on the ester you're running. If you're running a longer ester, I would give it a good 5-6 weeks. So this guy said his appointment is in 3 weeks. Well, what I would do is I called him up and be like, yes, I got a problem, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm going to be out of town, whatever. I want to reschedule. So you go ahead and reschedule it for another 2-3 weeks ahead of time. Give it a good 5-6 weeks where you're not running an excess dosage or other steroids that are going to fuck with your blood work. And then that will give you the chance for your body to go back to normal, and the esters will be out of your system, and you should be fine. You'll run blood work, everything will be good. But just keep in mind some of your other numbers on your blood work may be off. You might still have bad cholesterol levels because they don't magically go back to normal after a steroid cycle. They take time to go back to normal. You may have, you know, your estrogen numbers may be a little scattered. You know?
N2Guard. Take N2Guard. It'll help with your liver values. It'll help with cholesterol. Go to N2Guard.com, N2Guard.com, and it doesn't do anything for estrogen directly, so that probably won't help as much. But when it comes to your liver values and cholesterol, you see an improvement on the tests.
Yeah, and he should already be on that. You don't wait till then to do it. You should have been on it on cycle already. But you want to give it at least 5-6 weeks, at least.
I would, what I would tell guys is if you have a situation where you might lose your script and your doctor is testing you every so often, if you stack anything on top of TRT, it should be short ester stuff, something that's in and out of your system really fast. If you're doing propionate or acetates or orals, you're doing some of the shorter esters, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine because you can get off this stuff the week of the test and you'll be fine. It's only when, say, if you got a script for cypionate and then you go and throw a natate on top of it, undecanoate on top of it, equipoise on top of that, now you'd have trouble ever testing all right again for TRT. I mean, if the doctor's testing you maybe 3 times a year, you'll have a very hard time. So if you're trying to play the TRT game and toss a little something on top of your TRT, keep the esters low. Keep the esters really short so you can get off of this stuff the same week of the test and be just fine for it. What do you think, Steve?
You should be fine. A short ester, a week and a half, 2 weeks. I would give it 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks if it's a short ester, just to be safe. And you could also run blood work on your own. You could go on Evolutionary.org, find my name, Stevesmi, go in my signature, or go in the source subforum, and you'll see a thread that I did on blood work, which explains everything on your blood work. You can go on there and get your blood work done on your own without going to the doctor, just to make sure everything's cool. This way, when you go to the doctor and get blood work through him that he is going to see, you can rest easy. You'll be able at least to sleep good at night knowing that everything's clean. And if it's not clean when you get your own blood work, you can go ahead and extend the appointment further out. So it's a time thing. Time is, I don't know if I should say time is your enemy or time is your friend, but whatever time, the cliche is in this situation, the longer you can wait after you drop back down to your TRT dose, the better it is for you. And, that's going to be your best option. All right, guys. So next one is going to be getting bloated on creatine and dextrose shakes. So, Rick, you sell a really good product called Ancient Strength Creatine, and at n2bm.com. And the nice thing about the Ancient Strength that I like is that it's not just all mono, because the mistake guys make they take a bunch of mono creatine, and that is the creatine that can bloat you if you overdose on it. So your creatine is actually 3 different creatines, and 2 of the creatines are incapable of bloating you. Very, very small chance. So that's what I like about the Ancient Strength. You will not bloat on it. You should not bloat on it. The dextrose, on the other hand, that's just sugar. So the problem with dextrose, what is sugar? Sugar is a magnet to disease and inflammation and water retention. So why are you taking dextrose in the first place? It's just sugar. We get so much sugar in our diet already that there's no reason to add sugar to your shake. So, and then the third one obviously is your shake that you're drinking could be bloating you on its own, because dairy is very, very inflammatory. So you combine all those 3 things, that is why you're bloating. So I would tell you, you got to ease up on those shakes. I don't drink these shakes at all myself, but some guys love to drink shakes once a day at the most, or once every other day at the most. You don't need to be drinking shakes so much. You definitely don't need to be adding dextrose. Instead of adding dextrose to your shake, just add some fruit if you want it to be sweeter. And then, a lot of people, they run insulin, so that's why they'll add dextrose to their shake. So if you're not even running insulin, then there's no reason for you to be getting the dextrose in the first place. So this is just a classic example of copy pasting what a professional will do who's on a ton of insulin, a ton of HGH, and drinks a Dex shake after a workout. But a normal gym rat, which is 99% of us listening to this podcast, who are not messing with insulin and not messing around with tons of HGH like the pros do, 5, 10 IUs a day, 12 IUs a day, you don't need to worry about drinking a shake after your workout in the first place. So no reason for you to be bloated up.
I'll agree with most of that. Actually, yeah. I guess maybe if you're an athlete, like when I go mountain biking, I will put in a dry container. I'll put some whey protein, dextrose, powder milk, powder peanut butter. Put some different things in there. Make my own kind of sort of meal replacer. And then when I'm up on the mountain and calories are getting low, I'll drop some water into this mixture, shake it up, and then I've got myself a meal replacer. So something along those lines, yeah. But and I'll have some creatine sometimes too, some creatine tablets. I'll have sometimes right during the ride. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't any place for it for a bodybuilder. Really, I think you just have a regular good food, good diet, and don't need to add the dextrose especially if you're trying to stay lean. There's no reason to it. Creatine, as far as bloating, I've had no real big issues with creatine and bloating. Some people do. They've reported it. Look, I question everyone's gut health always. The first thing I ask everyone that reports any sort of issue is, what's your gut health like? Are you taking probiotics, fiber, digestive enzymes? When was the last time you took fiber and digestive enzymes for a month steady every day? When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you took probiotics steady for a month straight? I start off with those questions when people report stuff, because you can't say the creatine is causing the problem. It's what's making me bloated. If you haven't taken proper amounts of fiber, digestive enzymes, probiotics to help your diet, to help your digestion along, at least for a month. Do that for a month, and then you can begin to see what else is ailing you. But for the most part, that'll take care of most people say, I can't tolerate this food, or again, creatine makes me bloated. Try gut health regimen for 30, 60 days, 90 days. And then go back to the creatine, give that a shot, and see if you still can't tolerate it, if you still are getting bloated from it. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, and the thing is, if you run the dextrose and you consume these protein powders, which are very, very inflammatory in the body, you're just going to make your gut health worse. You should not be consuming a protein powder multiple times a day, like I see some guys do. Some guys are running it; they're drinking these shakes after, with every meal. You can't do that. You have to take care of your gut. Anything inflammatory in the gut is going to I
would agree with you, Steve. I wouldn't pump a bunch of protein through your gut every 3 times a day if you haven't at least done a 1-2 month regimen of fiber every day, probiotics, digestive enzymes. You don't do that. You've got to get a good baseline first before you throw this stuff on top. This is where protein farts come from. Some of that protein makes it to your large intestine undigested, some of it makes it to your large intestine undigested, and the bacteria there has fun with it, and you get this crazy protein farts. During my Anavar cycle, I was eating as much as 5 to 6 to 7 scoops of whey protein a day. No problems with farts, no problems with bloating, no problems with anything. Why? So I take care of my digestive system. I can pretty much eat anything within reason, and I'll be just fine. I've even had meat that's funny. I'll admit this. I've even had meat that's a little bit almost going to spoil. Won't get into the reasons why, but I've had even some, and it did nothing to me. It's just, as long as your gut and your digestion is fine, you'd be really surprised how much healthier you feel when that's taken care of. You just feel lighter. You feel great. And doing a full month, 2 months of fiber will take at least, I would say, most of you guys, an inch off your waist. Just doing a month of psyllium husk. That's the best fiber to have psyllium husk. At least, I would say, 30 grams every day.
You should never feel bloated or gassy. If you're getting gas like every day, there's something that you're either consuming or your gut health needs to be repaired. But you should not feel gassy. You should have regular bowel movements. We live in a society, you turn on the TV, Rick, and every other commercial is Gas X, laxatives, heartburn medication, all this stuff. It's all gut health. This is a gut health dysfunction that we have in North America. And it's because of an excessive amount of food and food intolerances that we've developed over the years. And a lot of that has to do with the way we grew up. We grew up with a lot of these food additives added to our food. And that has caused these problems to be exasperated. And if you grew up in like another country, you might not have those problems, but it's, we all have these problems. I think a lot of it is cereal. We grew up eating so much cereal every day for breakfast. That's what kids eat. We'd eat cereal, and cereal has all that gluten, all that sugar, all that crap that they put in cereal, and all that causes those food intolerances as we get older.
The increase in sugars, and also we're just taking the fiber out of everything. We're just taking the fiber out. That's how we process foods. Now, when you go to the supermarket, apples, they carve the skin right off. You get it in slices. Even oranges. Now the little white film around the orange, you take that off, and orange peels, and they're peeled already. You're not supposed to take the fiber off the fucking food, guys. We started off with white bread and then white rice and then white, just splitting the fiber off of these carbohydrates. This is how you get fat. This is how you get fat. So even the juicers, look, you I guess it's not bad if you're juicing vegetables, things that probably wouldn't be that great to eat raw like that, but you're juicing spinach with some other stuff. I guess this is a green juice is all right. But to just have your apples and your carrots and your oranges that way all the time, juicing them, extracting the water out of them, and basically throwing away all of the fiber, you don't do that. You just have good fibers, foods. Grab a bag of cherries every time you go to the supermarket. Have a bag of cherries a week. That's usually good maintenance fiber if you've already have good gut health. But yeah, I had to tell you, man, I don't remember last time I got gassy or had indigestion or anything like that, man. I just keep up with the fiber, psyllium husk, digestive enzymes. Sometimes I'll run out of one or the other. I'll go grab some more, and it's just very, very consistent regimen. I have probiotics in my refrigerator, 2 different kinds from a company called Raw. I think it's called Raw Organics. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But you go into the health food store. I think Vita Shop has them. And you go into the refrigerator, and that's where you get them. And you keep them in your refrigerator. And that'll increase gut health. Anything you throw at your body will digest just fine. No more protein farts, none of this stuff. But you got to take care of gut health, number one. You got to baseline with that. Start off with that.
Whole fruits and whole vegetables. I don't mind if you cook a sweet potato. I actually would prefer you cook a sweet potato. Prefer you cook broccoli. A lot of these vegetables are better cooked. They're easier to digest.
Steamed, yeah.
Yeah, and you got to eat that. If you're going through this every day, bloating and gas and all this, you have to transition to a plant-based diet for a couple weeks. And then you can start reintroducing your regular foods back slowly. But as you notice things are bothering you, you have to eliminate them. That's how you pull off something called an elimination diet. An elimination diet will teach you what is causing the problems and not. For example, with me, nuts. Certain nuts give me gas and upset my stomach. Pistachios give me gas and upset my stomach, for example. But I'm fine to eating raw almonds. I'm fine eating raw cashews. But pistachios, I cannot. But if I hadn't done an elimination diet, I would not know that. So you have to eat these. And what Rick was saying about the processed foods, like the typical American diet has 0 whole vegetables and whole fruits. 0. And all the meats that are consumed are not whole single ingredient meats. They're actually processed meats like cold cuts, sausage, bacon, stuff like that. Or the cheapest low quality eggs, the cheapest low quality cuts of meat from Walmart that the cows weren't even eating what they're supposed to be eating. They're eating who knows what, slop. And and all this is causing these gut problems. So, you have to fix that. Until you fix that, you will never ever be able to reach your fitness goals.
You know what I just found out today, which I'm going to chase down further because this is not my niche. So I just ran across it today before the podcast. Apparently, you can feed a cow 20% grass, 80% whatever else, regular feed that other cows get, and call that cow grass-fed. So apparently, to legally be able to call a cow grass-fed beef, It only needs to have had 20% grass.
Yeah, it's like that with everything, Rick. It's just like olive oil. Legally, half of that olive oil, 50%, has to be olive oil. The other 50% could be anything else. So this is the lack of food quality that we have. So you have to go to a trusted place to get your food. You have to go. A good farmer will raise grass-fed cows that are humanely taken care of, that are happy, that are out in the sun, getting the vitamin D. Same thing with chickens. So one of the things I try to teach people with eggs is cage-free eggs doesn't mean anything. They could still be in a barn, okay, inside, running around, and be called cage-free. That doesn't mean that they're good
Steve,
eggs.
do you like to give chickens the vitamin D?
Huh? Is that a joke? Huh? No, I look for, with eggs, you got to look for the stamp, the humane friendly stamp. That means that the chickens are outside running around, pecking, eating bugs off the ground, eating seeds off the ground, having fun. Happy chickens lay good quality eggs, nutritious eggs. They're getting the vitamin D from the sun, everything. The chickens that are miserable, and that's where you get the salmonella and all the diseases. So your food quality is important. You got to know where you're getting your food. If you don't have a local,
make sure you give your chickens the vitamin D. That's important.
That's what you guys do in down there in South America. You guys love messing around with the animals, huh? Especially you country folk. All right, guys. So the next one we're going to talk about is very weak after a night out drinking. Why? So this guy says that he had been doing really good, lifting heavy weights. He went out. He had a couple shots. He had a couple ciders. He had a couple beers. He was out for a birthday party. He hadn't drank in like months. So he goes and drinks. The next day he goes and works out. And he's weak. And he wants to know, why is that? He obviously knows drinking's not good for him, but he wants to know, why does drinking do that to your body? And he's saying, and he wants to know if he'll be able to bounce back and be kicking ass again soon. So, Rick, you're an expert on this. Tell us about why does this happen when people drink alcohol?
Well, alcohol floods the axon of your nerves. Actually, alcohol goes right into your nerves. And when you're drunk, alcohol is in the nerves. And then when you stop ingesting alcohol, and the concentration of alcohol lowers in your body because you're not drinking anymore, then that alcohol starts to leave the nerve, starts to leave the axon. And then this is when you get like that fucked up feeling. This is when you get like almost body pains and all these things. So best idea is just don't drink. Or if you do drink, give yourself a couple of days and don't train. If you do drink, drink a liter of water before you start drinking alcohol. Drink a liter of water when you stop drinking alcohol before bed. And then maybe the very next morning have 7 capsules of N2 with a liter of water. Or you could probably take the N2 right before bed, right when you're done drinking, have a liter of water, if you can remember to do that, and have some N2. Even, if you hit the treadmill or the bicycle, your health has to be good. You can't be drunk on a fucking stationary bike and kill over and die on me. But if your health is good, you drink a liter of water, you're on the stationary bike, 15, 20 minutes before bed, you're good. I mean, if drinking is something you kind of do socially with friends and you're not plastered, and when you get home, you still got your wits about you, you just don't want to be like impaired the next day and not feel great the next day, liter of water, maybe N2 that night or the next. Make sure to take it after you're done drinking. Also, you can get on a stationary bike, 10, 15 minutes, treadmill, 50, 20 minutes, break a sweat. Then get your ass to bed. After you've had a liter of water, after you had some electrolytes and you broke a little bit of a sweat. Then you go to bed. When you wake up, you feel right as rain, man. You'll feel so good. You feel so good. Maybe have a little bit of fatty food if you can, little fatty food right before bed, along with that recommendation. So that way the next day hunger doesn't wake you up. Sometimes people who drink a whole afternoon, next day they're extremely hungry, and you're good. Just rest, and you're always going to have a bad hangover, and you got to give yourself a day of rest. And ultimately, the idea is just stop drinking. Just don't fucking drink. Go out socially. Just tell people you don't drink, and don't drink, and just go out and have a great time with people, with friends, with girls, and just enjoy yourself, and don't drink. That's the bottom line. If you want to have a good time and you can tolerate it, and you do, just maybe a little bit of pot. Pot's good. No hangover. A little silly. Doesn't affect your liver. Doesn't fuck with your gym grind. It's decent. You could do that. But that's about it. I mean, look, it floods your nerves, and then it leaves your nerves. And that's what it floods your nerves, makes you feel drunk. It leaves your nerves, makes you feel like shit. That's what alcohol does in your body.
The non-scientific answer to why you're struggling after a night of drinking is you just put a bunch of toxins in your body. You just made your body sick. So, of course, you're not going to be able to work out good. So it's very, very important that you realize that you did set yourself back quite a bit. It could take you a week or two just to get back to where you were before after doing this. Believe me, it's not going to take a day or two. It could take a week or two or more. So, don't set yourself back in your fitness goals doing something like this that's very stupid. You can still go out and have a good time without putting a bunch of poison in your body. That's the concept I think a lot of people don't quite understand, because maybe they grew up watching their parents drink, or maybe they went to college and their fraternity was all just a bunch of drinking and all that. So they kind of got into that habit of seeing a lot of drinking, doing a lot of drinking, and now as adults, continuing those bad habits of drinking. And I would definitely consider just quit drinking. I mean, you went months without drinking, and then you saw what happened, and one night of drinking, how bad it messed you up. So I would just don't drink. I mean, it's not that complicated.
I have a great time being the sober guy around drunk people. Especially I go out with girls that like to party quite a bit, and I'll go out with, the girl and her girlfriends, and they're drinking, acting a fool, and I'm bone sober, having a great time, incredible time. When everybody's drunk the way they act, you can literally, it's like you're invisible. You run shit. It's pretty cool, man. Just don't fucking drink, stupid. I've drank. I'm no stranger to alcohol. I know exactly what it's like. I'm speaking from experience. It just made me feel like shit. Beers, any kind of beers, will irritate my gut, irritate my large intestine, give me anxiety, residual anxiety. Liquor, regular spirits, they just like this guy. They don't get out of my nerves for days. I could maybe have a little bit of alcohol on a Saturday night. Monday morning, Tuesday, it's time to write. It's time to answer emails. It's time to make decisions. It's time to make motherfucking moves. And I'm like second guessing myself. I'll write a paragraph and I'll read it over and I'll find mistakes. I need to delay decisions because I'm not confident in what I need to do. And sometimes these decisions are time-based decisions, and they're important. Spending money on runs of product, purchasing raw materials, juggling funds to keep everything going. If I get on my computer Monday, Tuesday after having had a few drinks on Saturday, I'm not as confident. I don't feel good. And especially when I have to write material from scratch, just blank page, and now I've got to write an article to explain how something works or get a message out to people. I'll read over. I'm like, did I fucking just write that? It's terrible. That's exactly what happens. It's the reason why I don't drink. It's the reason why I've abandoned alcohol out of my life altogether. I can feel that residual effect in my brain, that slowness, that even anxiety gives me a little bit of fear. If I make decisions on a Monday or Tuesday after having had a few drinks on Saturday, those decisions would most likely be more fear-based than optimism and confidence-based. because of that residual anxiety, and I've already dealt with anxiety for a big chunk of my life. That residual anxiety makes a difference in your decision making. So it's the reason why I've abandoned it, and why I don't mess with alcohol at all. I've got no desire for it. It's because it just impairs you for days and days after. But in the actual moment, it's pretty fucking cool. Being drunk in the moment, it's pretty darn cool. You don't remember much the next day, and it's pretty cool. But a few hours of feeling. Go open the door. Go open the door. Listen. Go open the door for me, please. Go open the door for me, please, buddy. The door. Please open the door for me. Thank you, buddy. But a few hours of feeling buzz, I don't know. To me, it's just not worth a couple of days of feeling shitty. And look, there are good drinkers out there. There are people that are incredible drinkers out there, and they could drink and go to work and work out the next day and have no problem. Some guys you might know the Diaz brothers claim that they'll go out drinking and then they'll be riding mountain bikes the next day. The Diaz brothers, the fighters. So that's just one public person that said it that way. But I know people personally, people that can have their drinks and ride the bike the next day, go to work on Monday and be fine. Others like myself just fucking can't. You just can't. So you run that experiment, you see what group you're in, and you live your life accordingly.
I bet it was the Diaz brothers. They've had a beef with you since what is it? Which hotel? With the Scarface? Remember Scarface? The Diaz brothers? Huh? Frank Lopez?
Florida man and his Florida pop references.
Well, dude, Scarface was actually filmed in LA.
You're Florida man. Now that I figured that you are Floridian. You're the typical Florida man.
I think they filmed one scene in Scarface actually in Florida. I think they filmed the rest of the movie in LA or like somewhere else. All right, guys. So the last topic of the day is a sad one. They said their spouse is in the hospital and they're very upset about it. They need motivation to keep working out and all that stuff. So, that's got to suck having your spouse. Like, let's say you're with someone, right? You go to bed with the same person. You wake up next to the same person for years, months, years, whatever. And then one day they're not there and they're in the hospital sick. So yeah, that's got to really, really, first off, that's really, really hard. That's really, really hard. I hope that's nothing serious, and I hope that they're going to be okay. Maybe they're just, they had something happen. Maybe they were in a car accident, like a small car accident or something. They had to go to the hospital for a few days. But that really, really is a rough situation. So sorry for that. What I would do is I would be like, once you know for sure, hey, they're going to be out of the hospital in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. I'd be motivated. I'd use that as motivation to get in the best shape I could. And then when they come out, they can come home and that you'll be their surprise because you're going to be in the best shape you've been in. You can really, really get into fantastic shape in a very, very short time if you do a lot of different things to yourself and you get in a good mindset, and then you come home, you bring a very positive environment. When they come home, it's a nice positive environment they'll walk into. They'll be happy. They'll be glad to be home. And it'll be a great opportunity for you to kind of just regrow your relationship from there. What do you think, Rick?
This is a hard one. I can usually give great advice about stuff that's a little bit more superficial. This is hard because you don't know what to say to someone when they're going through something like this. You have to stay strong yourself for them. So going to the gym is part of practicing that physical and mental discipline and health. And just know that when you go to the gym, when you're taking care of yourself, you're not being selfish. You're taking care of yourself for your mate. You're saving yourself for your mate that's going through this. And you shouldn't feel bad about it. You should continue to take care of yourself, especially if you have a significant other that's going through any kind of health issues. It's probably the best time to take care of your own health so that you're healthy to take care of them. You know, that's what you commit to, right? In sickness and in health. So that's the best thing I could offer, that working on yourself, continuing to work on some of your goals as your mate is going through something. If you're really together, if you're an item, if you're not planning to leave, but you're together, you're an item. Anything you do right now to build yourself up and to work on yourself, it's just, you're doing it for the both of you guys. You know, you're doing it for both of you. If you're continuing to train, it's going to bring you more health, more mental clarity, better mood. If everything's going to improve over this, then, you know, you got to do it. It's okay. It's kind of the thoughts you have to keep in your mind so you don't feel guilty about continuing on with your life in ways in normal, and some of the normality of your life while you're going through this unnormal time, you know?
Yeah, so, you know, definitely keep us in touch, and we're definitely thinking about you.
Keep saying that, but give me a second, because my kid just went to the door. Now he's not answering. Give me a second. I'll go check him out. I'll be right back. Just finish up. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So, guys, listen, you know, at the end of the day, just...
Rickson! Why the fuck are you not answering me when I call you?
Yeah, at the end of the day, guys, you want to make sure that there's nothing you can do in this situation to help them. They're in the hospital. The best thing you can do is think about them when they come out. And when they come out, a nice positive environment. When they come home, maybe get them a nice something they really like, a gift or something at home that will cheer them up as soon as they get home. And, go from there. I've never personally been in the hospital, so it's hard for me to answer this and tell you, what you can do that will make the person happy. So I don't know, Rick, have you been in the hospital in this situation and come out?
You mean with a significant other being in the hospital?
Well, either or. Like, have you ever been the one in the hospital and then come out, or either or?
I've been in the hospital a couple of times. I think that the longest, one time I had nose broken. Another time I had a butt fly bit me in the calf. So I've had a couple of hospital instances, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just very, very small.
So what did you want to happen when you came home with your significant other? What did you want them to do for you? Did you want them to cook you a nice meal when you got home? Did you want them just to be with you? I mean, what I like, because I've had a couple surgeries, what I wanted on my significant other is just to be there. Just to be there and just to nurture me. Just to nurture me like I was a little puppy, to cheer me up. That's all I wanted. I didn't need anything more than that.
With my so I have 3 kids, 2 different women, right? One of them in NY, the other one in Colombia. With the one in Colombia, before we got pregnant with the baby, that's when I broke my nose sparring. I had an MMA gym, a whole fighting stable. We're fucking shit up all over South America, and just training, helping one of my guys get ready for a fight. I walked into a punch. I didn't wear the headgear. I don't like wearing the headgear with nose protection. Never did. I thought that was like a little bit of cheating. But then again, I'm not getting ready to fight, so I should have. But I didn't. I caught a good punch from the guy. This kid's getting ready to fight, right? He's just focused, laser focused. So, obviously took a punch, broke a nose, had to get it fixed, operated. When I woke up from anesthesia, the first thing I wanted to do was see her. And I actually asked the nurses where she was, and she was outside waiting, and she came in and gave me a hug, and I felt really good. First thing I did, as soon as anesthesia came out of it, it's weird because when you come out of anesthesia, you feel almost like something happened not too long ago. You feel like something weird happened to you, especially if you come off of anesthesia and your body feels a little bit manhandled, which it always does. you're kind of disoriented, and it was just nice to have her there, someone I knew and cared, and she's hugging me. I thought that was a really nice moment. You know, I went later on and fucked that relationship up. Like I went later and fucked that up, but I mean, it means something, you know, when someone you love and you care about is there for you in any kind of moment of pain, especially with some of these anesthesia and some of these drugs coming off of it. It gives you like a really nasty, bad feeling. It's just so, you know, it's good. It's good to have someone there for you.
Yeah, we're social creatures. So leaving the hospital, not having anyone there. Like how many times do you hear stories like watching Maury, and the woman will have a baby, and then the dad won't even be there for the birth of their child, and then they'll leave the hospital and come home, and then the dad won't even be home. How many times do you hear that? Like, you do that to a woman, that's it. She'll never forgive you for that. You're done. So, I mean, some people, though, they're just incapable of empathy, bro. Some people are just incapable of empathy. Those are people,
actually, look, I actually think empathy is a terrible feeling to have. I think you shouldn't feel empathy. You should feel compassion. Empathy can make you a tyrant. Empathy can make you a monster. Empathy can make you into a really bad person. You want to feel compassion is what it is. And the main difference is empathy. You're overwhelmed. You're overcome. You're infected by the other person's feelings. You feel what they feel. If they're sad, you get sad. If they're lonely, you get everything that they're feeling, you're feeling. And that'll cloud your judgment to actually help in an effective way. When you feel compassion, on the other hand, you can see the pain. You can see what they're going through. But you keep your mind straight. You keep your heart straight. You're not overwhelmed by it. And when you offer help, you're more likely to offer good, fair help, appropriate help, because you're not going through the emotional stress this person is going through. So, but on the other hand, empathy, you're trying to make a decision to help this person, get them out of this feeling because you're overcome by it. And this is when you might become a tyrant. This is when you might do things without asking someone. This is when you start maybe doing things for someone's own benefit, without asking them, without consulting. You know, that's just one toxic way it can manifest itself, but empathy can be toxic in many ways. So I tell everybody I know, fuck empathy. Compassion is where it's at, is where you need to focus your mind in. Empathy is a terrible feeling to have. It's up there with jealousy and envy. As some of the feelings you should try to avoid. You should want to help and get someone out of their predicament, their pain, without being overcome by it. Just noticing it alone. It's my opinion.
Yeah, and that's definitely the jealousy part is a real killer, because that's a negative emotion, and that I can see what you're saying with the empathy. Yeah, definitely. That can turn into a negative emotion, and that's not helpful.
You can turn into a tyrant and start making decisions for someone else because you feel their pain. I mean, it and again, that's just one toxic manifestation of it. It can manifest itself in a ton of other ways.
All right, guys. So that was the podcast, the Q&A. We'll have another Q&A next week. Keep the questions coming. For Stevesmi and Rick, has been another episode of Evolutionary Radio. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
Have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys.